Oh, sweet Lord. It was actually good! Greetings, fammers. How are you all doing? Please bear with me, I'm still recovering from a cold. Recently, my wife and I saw the movie Bumblebee. Now, a little history. I am a huge Transformers fan. I love Optimus Prime, I love Megatron, I love Ironhide, and Peter Cullen was my biggest influence to become a voice actor. When it was announced back in 2004 that there was going to be a live-action Transformers movies, I was hyped, especially when I heard that Spielberg was going to be involved. At the time, I really didn't know who Michael Bay was, but boy was I quick to find out, and boy was I quick to hate his work. Yes, sexist, yes, racist, yes, loud, yes, obnoxious, yes, dumb, above all, boring. And somehow they were all hits, except really for Transformers 5. It bombed everywhere except for China. So when I heard that there was a movie about Bumblebee being made, I was in the camp, oh yes, of course, whatever. But then I saw some things that actually perked my interest. First, it was a different director, Travis Knight, and this was actually his second film. The film he did prior to this was Kubo and the Two Strings, which is fantastic by the way. So that got me curious. Then I saw Bumblebee transform into a Volkswagen Beetle, looking a little bit closer to his G1 form, I might add. And then there was a trailer that made me weep. The trailer that showed Optimus Prime, looking like Optimus Prime. Not some weird knockoff, not some weird alternate toy line, but the genuine Optimus Prime. Based on his G1 design and voiced by Peter Cullen. Not only did I get the idea from these trailers that this director had talent, but also actually cared about what the fans wanted and what Transformers is actually about. Well, I went in expecting some sort of fun ride, some sort of human Autobot connection. What did I get? That and more. The movie opens literally the Autobots at war with the Decepticons on the dying planet Cybertron. Here we see brief but focused glimpses of so many favorite Autobots. Wheeljack, RC, Ratchet, Ironhide. Then quickly after that, we see Soundwave, Shockwave, Starscream, some of the Seekers, and then Optimus Prime with a very epic intro. The Autobots are trying to evacuate and find a new place to build a base. Bumblebee, then named B-127, very clever I might add, comes in, and he's able to talk right now. Optimus sends him to Earth. Reluctantly, B-127 goes. We then cut to Earth, where there's a military training exercise being performed by Sector 7. One of the teams is led by Colonel Jack Burns, played by John Cena. Bumblebee crash lands near the training site, and a little bit of chaos ensues as you would expect. After Bumblebee manages to escape from Colonel Burns, he is confronted by Blitzwing. Then comes an awesome action sequence, and then we see how Bumblebee loses his voice in this series. Man, is it really violent! Bumblebee manages to defeat Blitzwing, if only just barely. Sadly, he was losing his memory cells after the battle. The last thing he scans is a Volkswagen Beetle, and then it cuts to black. Then we cut to our second main character, Charlie Watson, performed by Haley Steinfeld, a girl who works in the carnival during the holidays, just recently turned 18, and wants to get a new car. You know, just like all girls who turn 18 do. And all guys for that matter, I deny nothing. The car she gets, of course, is Bumblebee. Bumblebee, after some time, is recharged and transforms in front of her. Of course both are freaked out, Bumblebee because he has no memory, and Charlie because, well, it's a 20-foot transforming robot. After a moment where they both calm down, she asks for his name. Bumblebee at the time is not able to talk thanks to having his vocal cords removed. Haley then says that he actually looks like a bumblebee in some way, and that's what she'll call him from now on. Meanwhile, the Decepticons Shatter and Dropkick manage to trace Bumblebee to Earth but don't know his precise whereabouts. They then team up with the American military to try and find him while at the same time help out the military, or so they claim. During that time, we see Bumblebee and Charlie develop a relationship. And that's the introduction. What happens after that? I recommend that you see for yourself. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I not only recommend, I practically beg you to see this movie. This is the first live-action Transformers movie that actually has a story. A story that is coherent, a story that is engaging, characters who are actually likable, charming, even relatable. And not only does this have some heart, it actually has some clever, mature moments. Not just in terms of action, but in terms of drama as well. Charlie, for example, is one of the best human characters in all of Transformers. That's including Spike Witwicky from the original G1 series, Jack, Miko, and Raph from Transformers Prime. She's up there in the top 5, maybe even top 3. Though her character and story is relatively basic, it's very well told and very well acted. It's a pity that these films often get overlooked in terms of Best Actor, Best Director and whatnot, because Hailee Steinfeld really brought something to the role, when really she didn't have to. No, that's not necessarily true. We actually learn why she doesn't like to do some things. And also, there was a moment between her and Bumblebee where she shows her vulnerability, where she tells Bumblebee about an event that happened in her life. Actually, yeah, Charlie actually has a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder. And when she opened up to Bumblebee about her past, I can't believe I'm saying this, but my wife Carla and we cried. Yes, Bumblebee made me and my wife, who usually doesn't cry in movies, weep. Actually, now that I remember, many of the other adults who were in the cinema were crying as well. For a movie that was aimed for kids, a lot of adults seem to enjoy it. On that note, this movie earns the PG rating. There is some seriously heavy stuff that happens in this movie. Not just mature themes, but also some pretty harsh deaths. There's no spoiler that some characters die in this movie, but I won't tell you who. Is it some of the Autobots? Maybe. Is it some of the Decepticons? Maybe. Is it some of the humans? Maybe. I'm not saying anything else, but you have to check for yourself. The Autobots and Decepticons look amazing. And what's more, they actually look real, as if they are actually there. I don't know what animation technique Travis Knight used, but kudos to him and the team. They looked like they were there. They felt real, like real characters. None of this stereotypical, over-the-top nonsense, but genuinely relatable. Now, obviously, I'm mostly referring to Bumblebee himself, but the way he's animated, the way he moves, it's so expressive, so engaging. It's just a marvel to behold. Now, there are some people who already make comparisons to E.T. and the Iron Giant, but I think this film kind of needed to be in that vein. And since this looks like a brand new series, well, it has to be. Those designs for one, and Bumblebee arriving to Earth in the 80s for two. On that note, this film actually feels like it was made in the 80s, but in a good way. It doesn't feel like it's dated or an homage. It actually feels like it's set in the proper time period. And also made me feel a little old when I saw some of the old... There are video cassette tapes, the old box TVs, the 70s and 80s cars. And the writing is kind of John Hughesy, for that matter. There are some bullies in this movie, and they're actually acted very well. And there are some great moments which I will not dare spoil for you, because, oh lord, are they hilarious. I'm just thinking about it, and it just makes me laugh. I promise you will enjoy those too. But on that note, another impressive thing. The human characters are funny. Not one annoying character. And even when the characters are meant to be annoying, they're still funny. Jason Drucker, the kid who played Otis Watson, Charlie's younger brother, he's got a future ahead of him. Oh, he's funny. He is so damn funny. And Sally, Charlie's mother. Pamela Adlon. Does that name sound familiar? Well, heck, Bobby, it should.
I don't know, Dad.
Yeah, that's Bobby Hill. And Stephen Schneider, who plays Ron, Charlie's stepfather. A guy who tries way too hard to be fatherly to Charlie, and somehow he made it work. He is funny, and damn it, you feel for this guy. He wants to try and develop a relationship with a girl who's going through a hard time, and he just fails. And they're very obvious fails. Like getting a self-help book and things like that. Oh god. He ends up having a really good moment later on in the film. And I won't spoil it, of course, but oh god. I feel so sorry for this guy, but at the same time I want to slap him and say, you're an idiot, but you're a good-hearted idiot. Oh god. They just work so well. All the human characters work so well in this movie. Now you're probably wondering about the other Autobots and Decepticons. Sadly, they mostly appeared in the beginning of the film. But god did they leave an impact. And what I like is that they got voice actors, men and women who specialize in animation and video games. And by god, I hope this trend continues because they suit the characters perfectly. If and when there's a sequel to this movie, and by Jesus I hope there is, I want those actors to stay on board as those characters. Now don't get me wrong, there are still some Cybertronians that were voiced by some actors who have a bit of star power to their name. Justin Theroux is Dropkick, and Angela Bassett is Shatter. And then Bumblebee, when he actually had a voice, he was voiced by Dylan O'Brien, known for Teen Wolf and Maze Runner. But I give that a pass, especially because, well, they do the roles very, very well. But otherwise you had David Sobolov as Blitzwing, Grey DeLisle as RC, Steve Bloom as Wheeljack. Then you have actors who do bit parts or supporting parts, like Dennis Singletary who voiced Ratchet. I hope he comes back for that role, because damn it, he deserves more. Even though he voiced him very briefly, that was still a very strong performance. Kirk Bailey as a character known as Brawn, Starscream, Ironhide, Skywarp, and Acid Storm, who we see in there, sadly they don't have voices. Which, by the way, Mr. Knight, if you somehow come across this, please, I beg you, get Neil Kaplan for Ironhide. You will not regret it. As for Starscream, well, if I was in charge of the casting, which probably will never happen, but a man can dream, Sam Riegel immediately comes to mind for this version of Starscream. Just have a listen to him as Starscream in the Cybertron games.
Teach me, Megatron. Teach me to wield Dark Energon the way you do, and I will serve you.
And what could you possibly offer me that I cannot simply take?
The supply of Dark Energon aboard this station is nearly exhausted. I know how to manufacture more. There was once an Energon bridge that fed this station directly. I know how to reconnect it.
Though you're probably wondering about a specific Decepticon who appeared in the trailer as well, namely Soundwave. Well, Soundwave and Shockwave are voiced by John Bailey. I cheered so hard when I saw his name in the credits. Even though he only had a few lines, he was perfect. Absolutely perfect for those two characters. And I hope that he continues to be those characters. But also, spoiler, no spoiler, Megatron's not in it. Now this brings me to my only real... it's not even really a critique. Actually, I don't know what to call it other than just a simple observation. I don't know if this is meant to be a reboot or a prequel to the Bayverse. It looks like it's pointing to a reboot, even though there's Sector 7, even though there's Bumblebee losing his voice box, and if it followed the Bayverse in any way, Megatron is frozen on Earth somewhere. Which, by the way, it has to be Frank Welker. There's no one else for the role. Yes, we've had some other great incarnations of Megatron before, but Frank Welker is not only iconic, he's unique, and one of the few actors to voice the same character but give him two different voices. For example, Generation 1 in the Transformers games.
Why throw away your life so recklessly? I would have waited an eternity for this. It's over, Prime. This is all that stands between me and the Allspark? Bumblebee! Give me what is mine! Give me the Allspark!
Transformers Prime and onwards.
Now that I have returned, I will issue the commands. My army will come. But my time away has yielded a more intriguing means of materializing them. Fool. His weakness for these vertebrates will bring on the annihilation of the entire Autobot nation. The time is here to show the universe Megatron and his Decepticon army rule supreme!
Yeah, he was kind of his own Jack Nicholson Joker and Heath Ledger Joker, know what I mean? The only thing that makes me sad about this movie is a kind of cruel irony. The Michael Bay films, as bad as they got, were always a box office hit. Despite the fact that they were hated pretty much by everyone, they made hundreds of millions in return, and in two movies' cases, over $1 billion. Even if Transformers 5 bombed pretty much everywhere in the Western countries, it still did well in Eastern countries. Whereas this Transformers movie, a great Transformers movie, it's only a modest hit. And that just infuriates me. Yes, it made a little bit over $300 million as of this recording. It might have made a little bit more since then. Hopefully, that's enough to warrant a sequel. Because damn it, the people who have seen it, we want more. We beg you for more of this. Overall, 9.5 Vammer mics out of 10. If you haven't seen it, see it right now. You will not be disappointed. It is a complete breath of fresh air. It's got great acting, a simple but well-told story, an easy-to-follow plot. It's funny, it's very heartwarming, and when there is action, it's great action. Plus, the Autobots and the Decepticons look amazing. If you have seen it, post your thoughts about this movie in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? If so, for whichever reason, tell us why. If you like this review and want to see more, click the like button and the subscribe button. And don't forget, in order to get notifications from when we make new videos, click that bell icon. This is David J.G. Doyle, signing off and thanking you.
And now, transform and roll out!
I couldn't resist. I am not sorry at all.